Remember those college-era jokes that made self-care in private sound like a guilty secret? Funny how the years can turn an awkward punchline into an honest health conversation. If you're in your 40s or 50s right now, chances are you've already juggled 1,000 deadlines, sprinted after a child who somehow misplaced both shoes, and felt that tiniest hitch in your chest after climbing the stairs with groceries. You're wiser than the 20-something you once were, and you know the heart is more than a drumbeat in the background. It's the soundtrack to every plan you still have on the horizon. That's why tonight we're shining a soft, respectful light on a topic most doctors skim past. 5 things you'll want to avoid when you're exploring solo pleasure in your 70s, because your heart deserves a lover's care too. Let's start with the simplest misstep, one nearly everyone makes at some point: holding your breath. It's easy to do without realizing, especially in the quiet privacy of a bedroom where you might tense shoulders, tighten your jaw, and bear down the way you would lifting a suitcase into the overhead bin. That Valsalva-style strain rockets blood pressure skyward in seconds, forcing the heart to push against a closed valve like a runner sprinting with a brick wall an inch from their nose. Over time, arteries stiffen, rhythm falters, and that fleeting pleasure can translate into dizzy flashes or pounding headaches you absolutely don't need at 70. Breathing is your built-in moderator. Keep it steady, loose, and rhythmic. Slow. Inhales through the nose, gentle exhales through parted lips. Think of it as letting air glide through wind chimes rather than forcing it through a whistle. The calmer the breath, the lighter the load on those tireless cardiac muscles. Now picture a dimly lit evening where stress from the day still hums at the base of your skull, and you reach for a stiff drink or two to soften the edges. A single glass can feel like a warm exhale, but stacking alcohol onto self-stimulation sets up a sneaky 1-2 punch. Ethanol dilates blood vessels. At first, then shunts fluid away from the core, so the heart speeds up to keep pressure from crashing. Toss in the natural adrenaline spike of climax and you've got a cocktail of erratic rhythms that cardiologists politely label atrial mischief. Over decades, habitual pairing of booze and solo play peels resilience off the heart wall like paint in the sun. Swap the tumbler for chilled herbal tea, or better yet, hydrate with plain water and a pinch of sea salt. You'll wake up clearer, and your future self will thank you for ditching the roller coaster ride. The path to long-lasting vitality is rarely about grand overhauls. More often it's the micro-adjustments, the relaxed breath, the mindful sip, the decision to treat pleasure as an ally rather than a stunt double for stress relief. As we settle these first 2 guideposts into place, feel how your shoulders drop and your chest opens just a little wider. Picture an early Sunday when the house is finally quiet. Sunlight brushing the curtains just enough to remind you there's still a world spinning outside. You've brewed coffee, answered no emails, and decided to claim 10 private minutes for yourself. In that pause, it's tempting to sprint toward the finish line the way you tackle deadlines. Faster, harder, prove you've still got it. Yet speed can turn pleasure into a cardio sprint your heart never signed up for. Past 70, the muscle fibers that keep blood spiraling through your arteries appreciate a steady waltz more than a drum and bass rave. Instead of chasing an explosive rush, ease into rhythm the way you might start a leisurely walk around the block. Let sensation gather, crest, and settle in rolling waves. Pay attention to any flutter of lightheadedness or an odd skip in your pulse. Those whispers are your body's early warning system, asking for gentler pacing before excitement flips into arrhythmia. Think of it as setting cruise control on a scenic drive rather than slamming the pedal on an empty highway. The scenery becomes richer, and the engine thanks you for the kindness. Then there's the pharmacy drawer, a modern treasure chest, full of shortcuts promising stamina and spark. Prescription erection aids can be a gift when prescribed responsibly, but chasing a double dose, or combining them with over-the-counter stimulants, turns chemistry class into Russian roulette. Drugs that goose blood flow below the belt also demand wider arteries everywhere else, and if you mix them with decongestants, energy shots, or unregulated herbal boosters, the dance between dilation and constriction becomes chaotic. Imagine a garden hose rapidly expanding and shrinking while a pump tries to hold steady pressure. Eventually seals leak or valves protest. The heart, straining to balance those chemical commands, may respond with palpitations or sharp chest pressure that steals joy faster than any age-related slowdown. When in doubt, run every supplement and dosage tweak by a healthcare professional who knows your full medication list. The candid chat you've been postponing could translate into years of safe intimacy rather than a single risky experiment. These refinements, slowing the tempo and respecting the chemistry, aren't about taming desire. They're about aligning it with the long-game strategy you already apply to finances, careers, and relationships. Pleasure isn't a finish-line trophy. It's part of the daily nutrition that feeds optimism. So let each breath, beat, and choice feel like a gentle handshake between body and mind, an agreement that satisfaction is sweeter when the heart hums along in easy harmony. There's one more habit that hides in plain sight, camouflaged by our natural urge to tough things out. Dismissing the smallest red flags because we'd rather finish the moment than face the possibility of something serious. A sudden squeeze. Behind the breastbone, a pinch that spreads to the jaw or shoulder, a flutter that feels like a fish flopping behind the ribs. These murmurs are as important as any doctor's alarm, yet they're easy to write off as just a muscle spasm when you're caught up in pleasure. Past 70, the electrical pathways that choreograph each heartbeat can grow a little fussy. Plaques stiffen arteries, nerves lose precision, and what once felt like harmless tension can signal the heart begging for a breather. Imagine you're driving an old-school sports car you've loved for decades. If the temperature gauge nudges higher than normal, you don't slam the accelerator and hope for the best. You ease off, pull over, and let the engine cool before a tiny hiccup turns into a blown gasket. Treat your chest the same way. The moment discomfort creeps in, slow the pace, lie back, breathe deep, sip water, and if the sensation lingers more than a couple of minutes, call for help without apology. Pride never saved a life. Listening has, over and over again. Catching those whispers gets easier when you're already in conversation with a professional who knows your baselines. Annual heart checks may sound routine, but they're the difference between guessing in the dark and playing with the lights on. A simple echocardiogram or stress test can map hidden weaknesses before they gatecrash an intimate evening. Think of each appointment as renewing a passport for more adventures, not as a stamp of frailty. When you walk into that clinic and talk candidly about blood pressure, medications, and even your solo play routine, you're handing your future self a VIP pass to experiences you still want to savor. Honesty with the doctor builds a toolkit tailored to you. Adjusted dosages, breathing drills, maybe even a referral to cardiac rehab that doubles as fitness coaching. All these gestures, steady breathing, sober curiosity, a gentler rhythm, respect for chemistry, and quick attention to warning signs, form a quiet covenant with the body that's carried you through every heartbreak and triumph so far. They say, I value what time remains, and I'm willing to care for the engine that keeps the story rolling. Solo pleasure then stops being a guilty flashback to youth and becomes what it truly is. Another expression of aliveness, a pulse of gratitude you can offer yourself on any quiet afternoon. So the next time you draw the curtains and settle into that sacred space, let calm inhales guide the tempo. Let hydration keep the beat supple. Let medications stay within the lines. And let intuition be the compass that knows when to pause. Your heart has composed decades of rhythm for you. Now you get to return the favor by making every thump as effortless as a lullaby. If these ideas spark memories, questions, or practices you found helpful, share them below. Your story might be the gentle nudge someone else needs today. And if this conversation felt like a life-affirming pulse in your headphones, tap the like button, subscribe for more candid health chats, and spread the word to friends who could use a reminder that vitality and intimacy still dance hand in hand at any age. Here's to long beats, easy breaths, and a future that thrills in perfect time. And because every heartbeat thrives on the rituals we build long before candles mark our 70th year, let's linger a little longer in that quiet room and imagine the minutes after bliss fades, when warmth drifts through muscles like slow-moving tide water. Too often we spring off the mattress, glove up for household chores, or tap awake the phone that's already clamoring for attention. But that tiny window is prime real estate for recovery, the way elite athletes pad, cool down laps onto every sprint. Lying there, palms open, sprawl wide enough to let blood pool evenly through legs and arms. Picture each inhale carrying an ocean breeze that skims salt from your skin. Every exhale releasing the last crumb of tension from lumbar to jaw. This isn't laziness. It's maintenance work for coronary arteries that spent the past few minutes flexing like concert hall speakers. The longer you remain stretched, breathing evenly, the more lactic acid dissolves and heart rate decelerates without a jolt. Think feathering off a freeway rather than stamping the brakes at the exit ramp. While you rest, tune curiosity toward the subtler metrics modern wearables track, but grandparents gauged by instinct. A gentle throb in the carotid, the way chest movement settles into even arcs, the temperature shift across fingertips when circulation redistributes. Treat these signals the way a pianist listens for lingering resonance after the final chord. They tell you whether the internal orchestra ended in harmony, or if a rogue cymbal crashed a fraction late. If something feels off, maybe a lingering pressure along the sternum or a rhythm that tap dances instead of waltzes. Note it in a journal you keep tucked beside the bed. Data gathered over months becomes a roadmap your doctor can read like sheet music, distinguishing harmless syncopation from the opening bars of trouble long before the spotlight finds it. Ease gradually into motion. Roll onto one side, let knees bend. Push up slowly so blood doesn't race away from the brain. Sitting at the edge of the bed, flex ankles and wrists, shrug shoulders in lazy circles. These micro-stretches cue baroreceptors to recalibrate pressure without spiking, keeping dizziness off the guest list. A sip of room-temperature water slips into veins like coolant in a vintage engine, replacing fluid loss to sweat and deep breathing. If you're the kind who loves ritual, add a dash of powdered magnesium or a squeeze of citrus. Minerals nudge cardiac cells toward steady firing. Vitamin C lays mortar between collagen bricks in arterial walls, and the simple act of preparing. The drink anchors your mind in calm presence. Now the world's chatter can re-enter. Maybe that means children bounding through the hallway, emails pinging, or a partner asking whether you've seen their keys. Whatever storms back in, hold the echo of that quiet room inside your ribcage like a pocket stone. It reminds you that pleasure and protection are not rivals. They're dance partners who move best when invited onto the floor together. The more you practice merging them today, the more natural it will feel decades from now when the stakes rise and the margins narrow. So walk out of that room upright, shoulders unknotted, pulse humming at a volume that feels effortless. Carry the memory of soft breathing, measured motion, and attentive listening into every board meeting, school pickup, and evening stroll. Each repetition engraves neural grooves deeper than any anthem you've streamed, grooving the track your heart will follow when age finally flips the stage lights. And if you discover a new stretch, a breathing pattern, or a recovery trick that makes the afterglow sweeter, leave a note in the comments. Someone halfway around the world may read your words and hear their own rhythm steady. Life keeps teaching that generosity is cardiac gold. So here's to weaving compassion into every outline of desire, to rhythms that age like oak barrels, and to stepping back into daylight with a grin that says, "My heart and I are in this together for a very long time." And maybe that's the sweetest discovery of all, that safeguarding your heart isn't a chore stapled to desire. It's the very thing that lets desire stretch its legs well past the milestones friends once called over the hill. When aden, you treat each private session as a dialogue rather than a sprint, listening for how breath, rhythm, chemistry, and intuition harmonize. You weave cardiac care into pleasure until the two feel indistinguishable. Think about how effortlessly you now click a seatbelt or update a software patch. This too becomes muscle memory, a fluent language your body speaks without second-guessing. So picture tomorrow's quiet moment, the hush before sunrise or the lull after work. When you close the door, exhale the day, and let curiosity guide your hand. Feel how steady inhales anchor the beat, how clear hydration keeps the pulse smooth, how gentle pacing turns each surge into a rolling tide instead of a crashing wave. Sense the subtle confidence of knowing medications are dialed in, supplements vetted, Warning lights understood. Notice, too, how cool-down stillness paints a soft perimeter around gratification, giving every artery space to unfurl like a flag at half-breeze. In that spaciousness, gratitude rises unforced, for the heart's dependable drum, for nerves that still carry sparks, for decades of stories yet to be written in the small hours when the world forgets to judge. Private. Joy then ripples outward. You answer emails with a lighter touch, laugh sooner at an old friend's joke, walk the dog an extra block just to feel spring air flutter against your face. Protective habits in the bedroom echo in morning jogs, lunchtime salads, after dinner, stretches, the whole rhythm section of midlife tuned by a conductor who finally hears every instrument. And when the inevitable gathering comes, birthday reunion, family trip, you stand there, shoulders loose, pulse calm, radiating a quiet proof that vitality is not an accident of youth but a craft you've refined with intention and care. If this conversation stirred a new perspective or reminded you of a practice you'd long tucked away, share your thoughts below. Your insight could be the handrail someone else needs while crossing their own unspoken threshold. And if you'd like more candid, science-backed talks on protecting the body while living fully, tap the like button and hit subscribe so the next time we sit down together, the invitation lands right in your feed. Until then, keep breathing deep, pacing kind, listening close, and letting every beat set the soundtrack for a future that still thrills with possibility. Here's to hearts that age boldly, pleasure that stays curious, and a life that keeps humming long after the final chord fades.